comic books made more sense. You know it is fictitious without pretense.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sean. And since there's another Indiana Jones movie coming out, the last one, I don't think they'll make other ones unless they'll recast somebody. I thought I'd take a look at the further adventures of Indiana Jones. Now, I don't have all of the original Marvel comics from 1982 to 1985, cover dated 1983 to 1986. There are about 34 issues, and they're all produced by Marvel Comics as a way to cash in on another Lucasfilm craze. The other one was Star Wars, of course. They published Indiana Jones comics, and for a long time, and I think still, those comics are still canon to the movies. But for a long time, they were not reprinted. Now, they were reprinted by Dark Horse way back in 2009. And they were reprinted in these omnibuses. And you could see these all over the place way back in 2009. Now, these individual omnibus editions are about, well, they're hundreds of dollars. Like, I've seen some go for $400, etc. I do have a price tag on one of these. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's volume 2. And back in 2009, this was $27.95. In my neck of the woods in Canada. So I collected them, and I thought, hey, you know, like they'll just reprint them on and on and on. That never happened. When Marvel bought Lucasfilm, they reprinted like Star Wars and all that stuff. They didn't reprint the further adventures of Indiana Jones. They didn't even put it digital for some reason. It was so weird. So I'm glad I have these. Fantastic, and I'll try and hunt down the original comics as well. So what I thought I'd do is take a look at the first few issues of the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, which comprises the first adventure. Here's a recreation of the cover for the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, issue 1. And we'll go through the first 2 issues, which comprise the adventure called Indiana Jones and the Ikons of Ikammanen. So it begins with Indiana Jones a few months after Raiders of the Lost Ark, demonstrating his bullwhip to one of his students, and Marcus Brody barges in and goes, "What the hell's going on here?" And he's like, "Stay perfectly still," and snaps a cigarette out of the student's mouth to demonstrate the whip. And Marcus Brody's like, "You're going to get in trouble. Like, you know, this isn't really, you know, something you should be doing." But Indiana Jones is depicted here as still being the adventurous type when he's a professor in his university. And so one of his students comes visiting him, Dunn, and they shake hands, and Indiana Jones is like, you know, he was headstrong, irresponsible, undisciplined, the best student I ever had. So here he is, they shake hands, and he's talking about the icons of Ikammanen, which he's trying to find. And they're basically gold statues in a golden city somewhere in Africa. And while he's telling his story, he gets stabbed in the back and dies. And so Indiana Jones is like, "What the hell happened? Like, we can't find the person in time. But we have a map, we have all this stuff." And it's like, don't phone 911 or anything. I know it's the 30s, but like, you know, it seems to be like very little concern here. But Marcus Brody does say he's dead. And Indiana Jones is like, "Well, I'm going to go on this big adventure to find this damn thing." So Part 2, Interested Parties. So that's a great, like, introduction to this story. I always thought that these things could have been movies. So he goes to Africa, and he's in Kwekamibo, and discovers the guy who died, his sister. And she's like, "Don't you remember me?" And she was a student in one of his classes. And so they're traveling around there, and they're trying to figure out what their brother left, right? And she's like, I've reserved you a room at my hotel, and I can show you the rest of the information we've gathered on the icons. And of course, people are after them while they're trying to do this. And there's some question as to whether or not the icons exist. And so they go into their hotel room, and it's been ransacked. And people start attacking them. And so, like, Indiana Jones fights them and stuff, and the girl is sort of, like, in the way. And then they take Edith, the girl. And it seems like she's going to fall to her death. But she gets carried away by the people that are attacking Indy. And so Indiana Jones wraps his whip around a nearby plank and tries to swing his way down, and crashes into someone selling like fruits and stuff, and tries to pursue the attackers, and sort of gets lost in the fray. They disappear into a secret passage. And then Indiana Jones gets trapped in that passage and falls through a trapdoor. And is surrounded by rats. But there's a door there. And he's like, well, I don't have a key, but I do have one key in mind. And then he shoots the thing. Barges through. And there's a big crime boss man greeting him. Good afternoon, Dr. Jones. May I offer you a cup of coffee? So part 3, dealing in the dark. So here's this dude. He's surrounded by treasure and some guardsmen. And he's like, I'm Solomon Black. I'm a big crime boss man. And basically, and he's saying, no, I think you will find our interests are complementary. So he's trying to find the icons as well, right? And he has the girl. He has Edith. And he's like, Indiana Jones is like, I'd already guessed that much. Sorry, Black, but this is strictly a non-profit operation. And Black is like, you mean it was Dr. Jones, but now I've involved myself. And so anyways, he threatens Edith, and Indiana Jones is like, well, he just gives up and says, okay, I'll play along, right? So now they're trapped on Solomon Black's ship, and they're charting a course for where they think the icons are. And he's like, if your maps are to be believed, the island we seek is right about here in the middle of empty ocean. So now they're heading there, and it's a kind of a ship graveyard. And the captain of the ship is like, whatever the case, I'll not risk my ship by taking her any closer to shore. And Solomon Black is like, I quite agree, Captain. I do not wish to end my days as shark food. Dr. Jones can go ashore in a dinghy with 2 of my men. So here they go. They're going to go investigate this island they think the icons are at. And they reach the beach. As soon as they set foot on the beach, it's booby-trapped, of course. A whole bunch of darts come. They think that it's, tribesmen or something like that. But, like, Indiana Jones knows that it's a booby trap. So he throws a bag, and more darts come, more, like, arrows. And this one guy's like, then you had better be very careful going ashore, Dr. Jones, if you do not wish to end up like my comrade. So he goes, but he traces his way with a stick to trigger more booby traps so that they don't get him. And they make their way further into the island and climb a sort of like cliff and discover the City of Gold, or the Icons of Ikammanen, are. So here it is. And they climb down. They're sort of stunned that it's there's no people there. They thought there were going to be people there. It looks old, but it looks, I mean, the architecture is old, but it looks new. Then they see the actual icons. So it's gold statues. And you could probably guess where this is going. So legend has it that the gold statues come to life and avenge, wrongdoing, etc. They see a chain and it's got gold at the end of it. There's a pit that's sort of like warm. And the people are very lifelike, the gold statues, and they look anguished. So Indiana Jones is like, nothing to be scared of, kid. They're just statues. But they're fastened into place by blobs of melted gold. And when he tries to dislodge one, of course, there are bones inside. Because these are people that were burned alive by gold. Anyways, Indiana Jones gets knocked unconscious by somebody. When he wakes up, him and Edith are being lowered into melted gold, where they too will end up like the icons. And there's these like old tribes people, and they're trying to kill them. And they lower further and further and further in, as the dead like icons are gazing on. So that's the end of issue 1. Let me go back to the credits of issue 1, because I find that the writers swapped up sometimes mid-story. So this is credited to script and layout John Byrne, finished art Terry Austin, letterer Joe Rosen, and colorist Bob Sharon. So Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, issue 2. And here you see they're being lowered into the gold. That's awesome. And these are Lucasfilm Presents, not Stanley Presents. Lucasfilm Presents 22 Karat Doom. And this is credited to, and this is where they get all funny and cheeky here. Missouri O'Neill script, Chicago Byrne layouts, Michigan Austin inks, Jersey Sharon colors, and Jersey also Chang letters. So they're being lowered into the gold by these mysterious tribespeople in the Golden City of Ikammanen. And something's happening outside, and it turns out that Solomon Black's people have followed Indy into the place and are shooting all these attackers. And so Indiana Jones is like, well, this is our chance. And the place is shaking apart with all the explosions and stuff. So Indiana Jones swings and swings and tries to kick this lever here. And I guess they had some, modern technology of the time. And Edith is like, no, if you do that, we'll just fall into the gold. But Indiana Jones figures he could use the momentum, and he keeps swinging until he connects with the lever. And as soon as he does that, they're over the pit and beyond it, and they fall. And he knew that the leverage would get them to safety. So there you have it. When he gets out, he finds a victorious Solomon Black, and Solomon Black is like, just shoot them, just kill them. And the guy's right-hand man gets thwipped by a dart and dies. And so Indiana Jones is like, we can't be doing this right now. We have to team up and fight these guys. And Solomon Black's like, you're right, at least until we have dealt with the hostility of the tribesmen. So now they're, in alliance, and they're shooting these tribesmen. And the tribesmen are throwing arrows and spears and whatnot at them. And there's a big fight, and, like, both sides get hit. Indiana Jones is telling Edith to duck, like, get out of the way, as, like, spears are flying at her and stuff. Some more action, more fighting these tribesmen. And it's like, that's that. Another another triumph for decency, culture, civilization, and automatic weapons. A lot of this would probably be frowned on today. It's like, people taking advantage of other cultures, etc., and depicting other cultures as being very primitive, etc. But it was the 80s, and this is kind of the pulp hero stuff that they were mining for these Indiana Jones stories. Solomon Black is like, okay, well, I guess I can kill you now. Indiana Jones is trying to talk his way out of this. And he's like, listen, without me, you won't get the rest of the goodies. The inscriptions on those icons tell the location of a second cache of golden statues. There aren't a dozen men in the world able to translate the inscriptions. I'm one of them. So anyway, Solomon Black agrees begrudgingly. And they take the icons aboard the ship. I guess they haven't clued in yet that, well, I mean, I guess they know that they're dead people encased in gold, but they just want the gold. So Indiana Jones is impressed that he's not in a brig or anything. He's in just a cabin. And he's talking to Edith and everything. And he's like, we could get out of here if you just, like, dress up and stuff. So here's something else that would be frowned upon today. He doesn't believe that Edith can look attractive to try and get them out of there, right? She says, oh, I could use my feminine wiles. And he's like, no, you can't. So she dresses up in this gown. And he's like, okay, I guess you can. So she goes out and seduces this dude, and then Indiana Jones punches him. He tries to take the communications guy here and radio for help. While he does that, he gets shot at, and these guys come through to attack Edith, who has a gun. And they grab her, and they grab the weapon. And Solomon Black is like, I'm fed up. Take them on deck. It's like, he wants them to walk the plank, and Indiana Jones is like, you're deeply corny. So they're gonna walk the plank, and he just wants to respect the traditions of the sea, I guess. While this is happening, a periscope raises up, and it's like, what's this? And it's a submarine. This is before America entered World War II. And Raiders takes place before America entered World War II. So they shoot a missile at this ship because it's encroached on their waters. And Indiana Jones knows immediately what it is, so he jumps with Edith. The ship blows up. It goes down into the sea. And they hitch a ride on one of the crates carrying an icon. And so they appeal to the people on the submarine, or the Yahtzee submarine, to get on board and take them back to the States. So they do this, and it's implied later on in the story that this took a month. So they were on this thing for a month. And they get back to the States. I guess they swim the rest of their way because they the submarine can't dock there. So while they're there, they're going to take this plane, and Edith is carrying on about how she's going to be rich and famous now, and all of that. And Indiana Jones, I'd like to tag along, and she's like, "What for? So you can hog some of the spotlight?" And it's like, "No, Edith, you're welcome to the fame. It's just that I feel an obligation to Charlie, the guy who died, her brother." And it's like, well, all right. and an obligation to take care of you. So they're flying with the icon here. It's like, I'll say it again, Edith. You amaze me. You might still get clean away with it. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, Charlie's murder. And it's like, how dare you? So Charlie was her brother who got stabbed in the back in the beginning of this adventure. And Indiana Jones is like, can it, sweetheart? I suspected from the moment, almost from the beginning. And ever since our little adventure on the ship, I've been certain. So it appears that when he was stabbed in the back, it was her doing. And when he was shot at on the ship, it was her that shot at him trying to kill him. She missed. And it turns out that Edith was teamed up with this guy who's piloting the plane. And they were going to take off with the riches and everything. And then, so he threatens Indy. And he's like, I'll give you a choice, pal. You can stop a slug here, or you can step outside minus a parachute. And Indiana Jones is like, there might be a third possibility. It's like, I had a month or so on that sub. That's where they imply that they've been on that sub for a month to decipher the inscription at the base of the icon. It's interesting, a formula for bringing vengeance to the wicked. I'd say you people qualify, wouldn't you? And so he brings about an incantation to awaken these things, and here it is. It's coming out, and it's a golden zombie basically, and he's come to avenge wrongdoing. And so they try to shoot it, and it just won't stop. Indy takes a parachute, and he's like, screw this, and he jumps out of the plane. I don't wish you luck, Edith. That'd be a lie. In any way, it's too late. And you see the golden zombie getting to Edith, and then Indy jumps out of the plane with a parachute while those two get killed by the golden zombie. I will remember you. The longest day I live, I will never forget Edith Dunn, who we never hear about again. But yeah, that was the first of the further adventures of Indiana Jones. And these comics, of course, continue on. So when he lands, he gets into another adventure. They take place a few months after Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he does mention the events of that movie. And all of these were published before Temple of Doom. And as Temple of Doom came out, they incorporated some Temple of Doom stuff, including an appearance by Short Round. But yeah, this logo, the Indiana Jones logo, isn't the familiar one, because I realized while reading this, there was no Indiana Jones logo. Raiders was called Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was not called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, so there was not that swooshy orange to red logo for Indiana Jones himself. But this was an interesting series, and I hope to continue to show more adventures of Indiana Jones. They're fun. They're supposed to be in canon, and they feel like Indiana Jones. Like, this is, him fighting the locals and swashbuckling and going to different locales and everything. And there's a touch of the supernatural. So it's a lot of fun. I feel like the Marvel staff really got it. Till next time, take care.